the Chicago political and real estate machine getting together. Kurt Bailey, president of Related Midwest, the developer that's overseeing the 78. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the 78 is the parcel of land the White Sox want to build their stadium on. That's, was it 66 acres or something like that of undeveloped land? Just a few blocks around 16th or 18th Street off of Clark. So
Clark, yeah.
He's also, oddly enough, the same developer that's working with the Bears. So
we talked about that a little bit, how the Bears got involved last episode, kind of strangely, but we were at that time, I was under the assumption it had been reported that the tax that you and I have talked about, the hotel tax, could be grandfathered in after this, would not be allowed to be grandfathered in after 2024, but it could only be applied to one stadium. Somehow now it can be applied to two different stadiums in the city of Chicago. So I'm kind of baffled by that. Maybe you know more about that.
Yeah, so it can be applied to one. I think the best way to put it can be applied to one financing deal.
Okay. But that financing deal could have multiple stadiums. Okay.
Yes. To have so what would Kurt Bailey, with Mr. Bailey, I feel like I'm in
George Bailey.
Mr. Bailey. Your father was a work frustrated. Oh no, that's Mr. Potter. I'm just gonna move on.
All right. Enough references from 1945.
Yeah, that's why I can't get them. It's too old. But Bailey's trying to construct this deal because one part of the discussion that happened down when everyone went down to, when Jerry waddled down to Springfield with Bailey and his development group was the fact that, well, we're not opposed to two stadiums, but we only want to broker one deal. So if the deal is done through Related Midwest, the developer, and the deal, whatever dollars those are used conjointly with both stadiums, then the state of Illinois would be open, according to the reports, to something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that this is not two stadiums on the 78. This is a stadium. This is a White Sox stadium in the 78. And then another stadium built, is it south of the current Soldier Field on the lakefront in the parking lot there? It'd be a big domed stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other part of the proposal. The interesting part of all this is the stories that have been coming out in Chicago are that the White Sox are the half of this partnership that needs this partnership. The belief is if it was between the Sox and the Bears, the legislature in Illinois the Bears are going to win hands down, mainly because their plan is to have a dome and events and revenue can be done year round there.
They can make the city some money. Yeah.
They can make
it'd be a big money maker compared to open baseball stadium, but
yeah.
They could host, like, for instance, the Bears could host, Super Bowls for one thing. They could host Final Fours. They could host, like you said, year-round events where that's just not the case with a new Sox Park 3.0. But so yeah, they're fighting with a hand tied behind their back.
Yeah. So apparently they're this Related Midwest is working to draw up some deal that they're going to present shortly down in Springfield again. At the end of the day, though, the same problem lies that it's still public funding. It doesn't matter that you're going to get two stadiums out of it. It's still, tax dollars are being paid by the people of Illinois.
Billionaires.
Yeah, two billionaires. I mean, McCaskies have a shit ton of money too. So it's like, I don't know. it's no better. But I think also when you said Jerry went down and asked for $1 billion, knowing he didn't need $1 billion so he could get his real money, I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
He gets like $400 million or something out of this split deal and goes off and builds his ballpark, and his legacy, as he sees it, is intact. So more to come on that, but I didn't even think we were going to be talking about this week, and then that story broke, earlier in the week. So
I think it's interesting to see how, I think this kind of points out a sea change in how all the organizations are approaching this. Specifically, it seemed like Jerry Reinsdorf was the de facto face of this movement, the spokesman almost. He was happy to talk to legislators in Springfield and in the media about it, but he botched that so badly and turned public sentiment against him, because just assuming that taxpayers should give him $1 billion, he came across so arrogant, as he typically does. I think this marks a difference in approach suddenly, now that the Related Midwest group is kind of taken over the public face of this. And I think we're going to see less and less of Jerry, just because he just botched it so badly. Nobody wants to hear a billionaire ask for billions of more dollars. So the other part of this that I find confusing, or probably maybe less confusing, you can sort of see right through it, is the Bears already own property out in Arlington Heights. They spent $200 billion on that, and they told the world that they bought that because they planned to build a dome stadium out there, and they would own that, which is a fantastic way for a very valuable organization to double or maybe triple their value, build a state-of-the-art brand new stadium and have that and own the property as well, and have that as another ridiculous money maker. This whole thing is so confusing, just having, like it's the two trying to combine forces to create two different stadiums with one financing deal through one developer. It's so convoluted and confusing. I think basically because it's just bullshit. It's obvious the Bears are just sort of throwing the idea out there that they'd like to remain on the lakefront and build something in the city, just as a leverage tactic to gain some leverage in their negotiations with Arlington Heights to lower their property taxes. I think that's all this is the Bears they were stunned somehow by the idea that Arlington Heights would raise property taxes on them after they bought the property out there.
Yeah.
That's how it works. But they didn't realize that somehow, and they already played their hand, spending the money, purchasing the property, and telling everyone they're going to build a stadium. And now they're realizing they fucked themselves by doing that. So now they're throwing this idea out there that they might move to the city or stay in the city. And Jerry Reinsdorf needs that, basically because, like you said, he's always going to play second fiddle to the Bears. He could use their leverage as well. If they could combine forces to help both of them, they'd be in a much better position. So there's a lot more going on than you can even easily surmise that they're just playing this for leverage. There's other things going on, but one interesting thing that it's been mentioned, but it hasn't been given much plausibility, is the owner of Related Midwest, which is part of the Related Group, which owns development companies all over the country, all over the world, actually. But the owner of all of the Related Group is one Stephen Ross, which you might know his name because he also owns the Miami Dolphins and other properties in the Miami area. He's actually from Michigan originally. He went to the University of Michigan, grew up in Detroit. I'm wondering if there's something else going on here where if we're in this kind of intimate business dealings between the White Sox, potentially the Bears, but I think it's mostly the White Sox, could Jerry be figuring out a way to potentially sell the White Sox to Stephen Ross, who owns sports franchises? He doesn't own a baseball team, but maybe he wants to. Or one thing to definitely point out is he's also 83 years old, not quite as old as Jerry, but does he want to purchase a baseball franchise for his family, for his legacy? Is that something that he has in mind down the road? He's worth a lot more than Jerry is and might be in the position to actually do this. He also happens to own the land where this new stadium would be built. So if he bought the White Sox, he would not only own the land that the stadium's on, he would own the stadium and the team. I've heard people mention it. It's not like an outrageous connection of the dots, but it's been poo-pooed, which I'm kind of surprised that that's been so quickly poo-pooed, because it seems like a pretty savvy play by both Jerry and Stephen Ross. If he indeed wanted to get into the baseball franchise ownership game, this would be a perfect way to do it. So, and who knows what that means. I would think that'd be good news for White Sox fans, because, Jerry's been throwing out that threat that, if you don't build me this stadium, I'm going to die soon, and new owners will move the team wherever they want, potentially to Nashville. Well, if you sell to Stephen Ross, who owns the 78, and then would own the stadium and the team, they wouldn't be moving. So I wonder if that's something we're going to hear more about as this year plays out, because we will get an answer before 2020-24 is over.
Yeah, that's for sure, because they want to take advantage of this loophole in the taxes, the 2%. I guess, we say, oh, well, it's just 2%, but it's a lot when it's billions of dollars. So
yeah, it's the hotel tax. So, again, it's technically aimed at tourists, but at the same time, those tax dollars go to fund programs in Chicago and Illinois. So you are subverting those funds from going to schools or to education or to whatever, to social programs, to give it to billionaires instead for their playthings with sports teams. So it's a matter of priority where those tax dollars go. It is not a new tax, so at least you wouldn't have that. But it's a question of where you're allocating those tax dollars.
Wordhole Media.